mais um canal, mais um dia, mais um canal de alguém da direita que foi expulso pelo YouTube. Nesta vez foi Black Pegeon, que é um gajo muito fixe. Por isso, vamos ver alguns vídeos sobre a situação.
Currently has 26,000 subs here. His videos are still available because BitChute actually cares about free speech. Now, before we get into this, we have a sponsor. Yes, you heard that right, folks. My very first sponsor. I'm excited. Oh, heck yeah. So this website is called unsilencedvoice.com. I'll leave a link directly at the tippy top of the description. So this video is being sponsored by Unsilenced Voice. It's a brand new social media platform that promotes freedom of speech and diversity of thought. And what better time to look for alternative platforms for people to enjoy than now? There's been purges on YouTube. Black Pegeon Speaks, of all people, was censored. There's never been a bigger time to say, don't tread on me. And as you can see, they have a bunch of different topics. Subscribed. Again, you can find it at unsilencedvoice.com. Be sure to check it out. Now here on Black Pegeon Speaks Twitter account, at NavyHatto, if you want to find it. As you can see, if you click the YouTube link, what happens? Boom. This account has been terminated due to multiple or severe violations of YouTube's policy prohibiting hate speech. And as you well know, hate speech is simply speech the left doesn't agree with.
Hate speech not existe. Hate speech não existe. Hate speech não existe.
They terminated his entire account. 500,000 subscribers. This is a nightmare. We are living in nightmare world. Clown World, of course Clown World hasn't ended. Clown World is simply about the insanity of the world. Nightmare World, that's an example of the consequences of that insanity. So here in BPS, we can look at these different tweets. We're going to read them. We're going to discuss exactly what's going on. It's really, really messed up that this is happening. Black Pegeon Speaks never promoted anything hateful. He only told the truth. His videos were well researched. The fact that he's censored means that YouTube really is over. It's over. It's over for all of us. We're all going to be censored. The left is destroying everything. We're also going to take a look at Hacker 4chan and his thoughts on the situation. Paul Joseph Watson says, when you tear out a man's tongue, you're not proving him a liar. You're only telling the world that you fear what he might say. Punk Rock Mr. Burns says, at Team YouTube, on what grounds did you delete Black Pegeon Speaks channel? This is blatant censorship and a real slap in the face to everyone who made your platform both popular and profitable. At Navy Hatto, we stand with you. Keemstar says, replying to at Team YouTube, at Navy Hatto, I feel like this is one of those free speech things. I just reviewed 3 of at Navy Hatto's videos that were uploaded to another site that a fellow reporter linked me. In those 3 videos I watched, I did not see the TOS being broken. I think this was probably a mistake. When it comes to commies, nothing is a mistake. Tommy says, YouTube has effed up real bad on this one. The banning of Black Pegeon Speaks account is the greatest affront to democracy and free speech ever made. Please restore Black Pegeon Speaks account, otherwise I will discontinue watching/using YouTube and urge all others to do the same. This is bullshit. Don't let them get away with slowly turning up the temperature of the pot by incrementally banning us one by one. So that's a reference to the frog allegory. If you put a frog in boiling water, it's going to jump out because, you know, it's hot. But if you put a frog in regular water and you slowly turn up the temperature, the frog will never notice that it's slowly being boiled. And then when it is boiled, it dies. Kick up a massive fuss every single time one of our lads, our guy, gets taken down unjustifiably. And here's Black Pegeon Speaks tweet at Team YouTube, at Keemstar, at Timcast. Woke up to my channel being deleted. It was fully monetized, was in good standing, and had no strikes. And a 95 to 99% like ratio with almost 500k subscribers. I follow the rules carefully and have not broken any of them. Is this a mistake? Brittany Pettibone says, really amazes me how mainstream journalists have the gall to complain about being cyberbullied when the majority of them make a daily habit of slandering, harassing, and trying to ruin the lives of those they personally disagree with. This is a funny one. Only fashy-bashy people close their doors, and only knots lock them. Show your commitment to open borders today. Open borders begin at home. This is really good. Saved. Now let's check out Hacker 4chan, because he's got a lot of good thoughts on this. Black Pigeon speaks. Enemy of the state. How are we suddenly losing the culture war? Because they control social media and information. Bruh. Here Annan says, are we doomed? Have the degenerate, hedonistic progressives won? I see a lot of cucks on this chan saying how they have been de-radicalized by a trans person and are exhausted by dissident right politics and generally do not care about the culture war anymore. Those are shills though.
Se não tivessem tanto portalhada que nem sequer pagam nada e que ainda por cima gastam mais do que os outros, se não tivessem tanta portalhada, não é? Não é? Se não tivessem aqueles programas todos que têm com Angola e Moçambique, sobrava dinheiro. The fuck? Só um bocadinho.
So tell me, Paul, when did the elite finally take your fighting spirit? For evil to triumph, good men only have to do nothing. More and more people are being banned from social media at the run-up to the American election. It seems to me like everyone on Poll simply does not care anymore. This chan has truly earned its nickname, Cuck Chan. Now this is obviously bait, kind of to rally Poll, but let's read. Here Annan brings up a great point. Censorship only radicalizes moderates. It's the last bastion of dying authority. So while it may appear they are winning, their condition will suddenly and terminally decline, just like radiation poisoning. Radioactive! Radioactive! Here Annan says, shills, shills, shills. None of us are doomed. The more the right gets censored, the stronger it becomes. When shit hits the fan, those who dwell in hedonistic pleasures will be the first to fall. Bad times will create strong men. So here another Annan talks about abandoning YouTube itself. I don't agree with that, just to say that much. Because if we leave YouTube, it's just going to become exactly what they want. A leftist safe space. But I absolutely agree. We need to spread to other websites. I'm on BitChute as well. Be sure you subscribe, because you never know when the censorship hammer is going to come falling down. And trust me, folks, it's coming for all of us. Everybody reading this needs to start following these people in other places. DLive and BitChute are where a lot of people are creating backup channels or already have backup channels. Stop watching videos on YouTube. That is how they make their money. Encourage your favorite content creators to set up BitChute accounts or DLive and only watch them there. Canceling YouTube Premium or vowing to send no more super chats is not good enough anymore. We all need to abandon their platform. Here another Annan has a really well thought out comment. The more censors are being put in place, the faster things will escalate. The unholy alliance postmodernists, globalists, and corporatists don't debate ideas or even care to refute perfectly moderate and sensible positions. All they do is ban people for hate speech. They're starting to believe the lies propagated by postmodernists. Cultural Marxists, and yes, they are the same thing. Eroding meaning is literally socialism and communism 101. Redefining language and ideas is sheer communism, who are not only a minority but wisely despised everywhere else but their urban shitholes. People are also forgetting that the corporations have a heavy hand in censoring events, especially platforms like YouTube and Twitter. These a-holes make money off user-generated content by showing ads, thus sustaining their massive corporation, which should be an impossibility if you ask me. The companies giving them money in return don't want to be associated with anything remotely politically offensive or controversial. There's also the case that those in marketing have a heavy dose of postmodernist ideology and are actively telling these companies what is and isn't acceptable messaging. You can't monetize a network without doing some subscription service. We all know how that works out with pirating and account sharing. You know, that's the biggest thing. This is why advertisers are so dumb. Nobody cares where your dumb ads show up. In fact, they're more likely to buy a product if they see the ad in the first place. You're literally cutting yourself off of a vast majority of the future market and current markets. People like unpopular opinions, not politically correct. People like edgy content. You're just screwing yourself over, corporations. Here another Anon replies. We're all being banned anyway. Make backup channels on other sites and give those sites traffic. Exclusively watch the channels you like on other platforms. They can cross-upload until they are banned. But keep your viewing traffic on their other backups. Look at CNN's ratings. Nobody's watching them. The ratings are propped up by airports. The same thing will happen with YouTube, because it is starting to cross over into the normie sphere. Be gone, normies! Nobody likes being told they can't say anything. Not even the normies. A lot of people already resent YouTube and the media for the treatment of PewDiePie. Don't forget about the YouTube Rewind video. It became the lowest rated video on their platform in history. That wasn't just right-wingers voting it down. A lot of people have lost faith in the platform. Don't forget about the TikTok effect. A lot of younger people who in the past would have uploaded their silly short videos to YouTube are uploading them to TikTok instead. People also still upload their videos to YouTube. Practically any viral video I've seen in the news lately was originally posted on Facebook, then later uploaded to YouTube. YouTube is in trouble. Stop supporting them. And for content creators worried about money, keep your channels on YouTube up until they are banned. And don't neglect other opportunities to earn money. You have Patreon, Streamlabs, you can sell merchandise. Monetization on YouTube is not the end all for earning money. That's why I got a sponsor. No, seriously, I absolutely agree with this Anon. He has the right idea. Spread to other websites, watch on other websites, but keep uploading to YouTube as long as you can. When the ban hammer comes, well, we'll move on. But you cannot silence everyone, much less half the population who lean right. Even the moderates, even the liberals are seeing how bad it's become. Anon says, just a few weeks ago, I was literally getting a little comfortable from the lack of political aggression. I thought people had just finally realized that they were being lied to by the mockingbird media, and that this content really wasn't that extreme. Then effing Carlos Maza threw a fit over being called a gay man and ruined everything. There are a couple other threads, but I think we've pretty much said it all by now. Here an Anon asks, so now that they deleted BPS, who's next? My money is on Razor Fist. And Anon replies, Aiden Paladin is next. If they censor that booty, I swear to God, I'll put them in the ground. But you know, that's pretty much the story. Things are not looking good on YouTube. We're in a sinking ship. We're all being censored. Black Pigeon Speaks did absolutely nothing wrong. He broke no rules whatsoever. But the problem is the truth has become the new hate speech. And I believe George Orwell himself said something about it. And I found this quote here. So, truth, the new hate speech. George Orwell says, during times of universal deceit, telling the truth becomes a revolutionary act. 1984. George Orwell. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about Black Pigeon Speaks getting banned? Is it over? It's definitely over. We're all going to be banned. It's gone. YouTube is too far gone. Social media is too far gone. We have to speak out against this. We have to speak out against Google, against the censorship, against the double standards. We have to beat them at their own game. The left cannot be allowed to censor free speech. It will mean the end of free speech for us all. Be sure to let me know what you think. Now, if you want to support the content that I make, honestly, because that's probably going to be the only future way to fund anything, you know, in the coming age of censorship.
Video with some really unfortunate and upsetting news. One of my favorite YouTube creators, Black Pigeon Speaks, has had his channel terminated with basically no explanation. He had no strikes on his channel. He always followed TOS. He made very reasonable, logical arguments. He never espoused hate or violence. His videos were of the highest quality in terms of the visuals and the actual meaningful content.
Os TOS deviam ser regulados de alguma maneira em termos de. Por exemplo, sites não deviam poder proibir pessoas. Não deviam poder expulsar pessoas sem uma autorização uma autorização de um tribunal, por exemplo. Caso quando expulsassem, perdia eles ser multados. É uma solução, não sei. Não sei.
Or socially enforced more.
Afinal já está, ok não. Mas de qualquer maneira foi expulso durante algum tempo.
It's really shocking.
E OS deviam ter que ser vistos por um juiz antes de poderem ser coisa. Tem outra coisa e valem. Não sei.
It's important to address the larger audience, much larger audience over here on this channel, because something big just happened. A very big channel was just completely deleted by YouTube. Now, this might be another Hunter Avalone situation. If you remember, he had, something like, I think he had like 500,000 subscribers, and then YouTube deleted his channel. It might have been another situation like that where there was an activist at YouTube just decided to click delete on his channel. He's like this really typical run-of-the-mill sort of campus conservative sort of guy. He did get his channel back with a lot of support on Twitter. But Black Pigeon Speaks, with a channel with over 500,000 subscribers, has just been deleted by YouTube. Now, knock on wood, by the time you're watching this, hopefully his channel will be back up, because it seems like he's getting a lot of support on Twitter as well. And hopefully he'll get his channel back up. Now, I just want to stop this and remind you, I've had a BitChute channel for over a year. The link has been in the description of every single video automatically for a long time. So go ahead and subscribe over there on BitChute. And I'm seeing the numbers climb here pretty steadily because Sargon of Akkad on his second channel, The Thinkery, put out a list of all the channels to subscribe to on BitChute, and I was one of them. So I want to thank Sargon of Akkad for that. He's also in the past supported our Film Your Marxist Professor's Facebook page. And a lot of people have a problem with Sargon of Akkad. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe because I'm not really immersed in that whole scenery. I'm not sure. But he's never said something like illegal immigration doesn't even matter, like that recent Turning Point USA star said. So I'm not. I've got no problems with him. So go ahead and subscribe over there. Now, he did put a list out of all the channels to subscribe to on BitChute. To make it easier, what I did was I put it up on theredelephants.com. Okay, theredelephants.com, and I'm going to go back through and link to every channel because I didn't have time to, but we're going to go through that list as well. But before we get to that, I want to go to the BitChute description. Delete this channel completely, according to Pew.
To me, this is one of the first YouTube bannings that has like devastated me because I watch Black Pigeon Speaks on a regular basis. Black Pigeon Speaks was one of the very first channels that I discovered back in 2016, that really started to open my mind and help educate me about alternative points of view. It's just really shocking. He had almost 500,000 subscribers. It really has me like blown away, and it shouldn't, because this has been happening to lots of smaller channels for a long time. It's just his channel was just so good. And so I'm really just saying this to spread links with his alternative platforms to his website where you can support him, because his entire livelihood has just been, taken from him without any reason. I can't stress enough how, just really educational these videos were. They weren't, pushing a political agenda, there wasn't, there was never any breaking of TOS. There was never any hate speech whatsoever. And I know that because I've seen pretty much every video he's made in the past 4 years or 3 years. The really messed up thing about this is that people will be celebrating the censorship of Black Pigeon Speaks, and these people are idiots. They are willful idiots. They're useful idiots. And Black Pigeon Speaks made a video about this just yesterday. They think they're winning because the people that they don't like are being censored, right? Are being removed. And they don't have actual arguments that can shut down these people in a way that's effective, right? They can't win the argument. They can't beat these alternative points of view, because the alternative points of view that people like Black Pigeon Speaks, really gives a lot of attention to fleshing out and researching and making these incredible video exposés to help educate people on. They don't have anything valid as a counterpoint. They can just all they do is they just make straw man arguments. They say, you're espousing hate. You're radicalizing people, which is just not true. This whole thing about people being radicalized by YouTube videos, it's total nonsense. These videos like the ones that Black Pigeon Speaks makes gave me my life back. I was lost.
Morals. You're either for people voicing opinions that you hold contemptible, or you are not for freedom of speech. Sadly, even the idea of freedom of speech is now being politicized as a right-left issue, where, for legitimate concerns and reasons, many on the right are becoming wary of large tech monopolies. Choosing who is and who is not allowed to speak and what our shared social values are, for many that do not agree with these ideals or the unaccountable Silicon Valley companies that enforce them, their voices are being silenced relentlessly, pathologically, and ruthlessly, and this cannot end well. This video is kindly sponsored by Raid.
With a cute little baby in, yeah? But what they should have done when she was a child is given the child maybe a wheelchair with an old person in it, right? Because any child that this woman is going to have is likely to grow old, and possibly is going to get cancer or crippled or God knows what else. That's what's going to happen to this child, and the only reason she is given for having a child is because she wants one. That's not a good reason to have a child, just because you want something. Surely, before you bring more human life here, maybe you should think a little bit deeper as to why you should do that. There are already 7.5 billion people.
At Speaker's Corner, speakers here may talk about any subject as long as the police consider their speeches lawful. And in the UK, what is deemed lawful is an ever-shrinking set of ideas. The corner was frequented by the likes of Carl are losing this hard-won right for two simple reasons. First, it serves the interests of the financial cartels to see people, communities, and nations as nothing more than interchangeable cogs or widgets within a hive-like structure. And two, an entire generation of people have been influenced and inculcated with ideological conditioning that renders them both helpless to deal with the external world, but at the same time, endlessly offended by it.
President of the United States of America, Donald. With your gracious aid.
I have an incentive to publicize personal, social, much of the media today, of many within the Vox activist / journalist lamenting, howling, and squealing his victimhood on YouTube at the hands of another independent censorship, transforming it both and
Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we return to talking about the Batman film franchise, which, with casting choices starting to come out for the upcoming The Batman movie set to be released in 2021, well, many fans have had lots to say about all of this. Not only have they been reacting to already made announcements, like the shaky welcoming of Twilight star Robert Pattinson, who will be playing Batman himself, but also many are starting to speculate and suggest who could potentially fill out the rest of the cast of the movie. You probably remember earlier this week where we made a video covering the SJWs who are pushing for a female Joker to be put in this film. Ridiculous, but apparently the want and need for radical leftists to do what I'm calling girl washing, well, the need for SJWs to make beloved male characters into women has only just begun. Now, apparently, social justice warriors want the Alfred character to be girl washed too. That's right, Batman's famously old and British sidekick Alfred, who's the head butler of the Wayne Manor estate, and now they want him to be a girl? What the heck? And besides that, Alfred basically raised Bruce Wayne after he lost his parents at a young age. Needless to say, this guy is a legend and worthy of the utmost respect as far as comic book side characters go. And that's why I think it's rather disrespectful to even suggest a gender change on Alfred at all. It's like saying the Queen of England should be cast as a male king, or suggesting something like making an all-guy reboot of Charlie's Angels or something. I think you get what I'm saying. Now, before we get to the full story about the female Alfred suggestion, let's first go back and recap the Alfred character and his history on screen just a little bit more. It's been a long time since he's been a big deal, admittedly, but I think this new version coming in The Batman has a chance to bring the character back to its former glory, much like how the movie could bring back the whole Batman franchise to its former glory too. But a lot of the Batman series is dependent on having a good Alfred character, who's played by a terrific actor. Alfred Pennyworth is basically Batman's number 2 character, if you really think about it. Sure, Robin comes in at some point and becomes Batman's crime-fighting partner in the streets, but Alfred has always been the one backing Batman up throughout the whole character's history. Alfred keeps stuff in the Batcave clean, and also he prepares suits and cars and weapons for Batman's operations. And in addition, Alfred often leads operations from the Batcave base at Wayne Manor, even helping and sometimes directing the Dark Knight during their patrols. Alfred's the one always connected to the Batsuit's wireless radio hidden in Batman's cowl. Basically, Alfred's the guy on the computer you often see in action movies, crime-fighting ones, and heist flicks as well. And on top of that, Alfred is also a close friend and mentor for Bruce Wayne as well, even being somewhat of a father figure to Batman before he even becomes the superhero. So with all that said about the Batcave, the technology experience, and being a stand-in dad of sorts, well, all that really doesn't mesh well if the character becomes female. A female Alfred wouldn't work, because then it would become a mother figure who focuses on, say, Batman's fashion sense more, or cooking, instead of, say, an Alfred job like working on the Batmobile's onboard rocket launchers, something the actual Alfred character might actually do. Another good example of Alfred can actually be found in a joke version made in the Teen Titans Go movie from last summer. That animated flick that looks like it's just for children, well, it actually has a lot of good adult-level humor in there too. For example, there's a scene where the Titans are at a movie premiere, and Robin is getting excited because he thinks it's finally his time to get his own movie. Robin even sees a trailer with a close-up of the letter R, thinking that might be the start of his own name, but no, it's actually an R from Alfred. Alfred, and the movie's about him. In this fake Alfred movie trailer, instead of stopping crime, he stops grime by cleaning the windows with his Windex bottles. And then, when the dust settles, Alfred is still dusting, fortunately. They make a couple of other great cleaning jokes here too, and it's all done in good fun, but there is a bigger point that this is based on. Alfred getting a movie before Robin is fitting, since Alfred is the second main character in the Batman series, as I said before. And changing a main character like this into another gender, like what's being suggested, it's even more dumb the more you realize this. It's also worth noting that there is an actual Alfred-based project coming out soon. The Epix TV channel is making a TV series called Pennyworth, which is like a prequel about Alfred when he was younger. That could be cool. And before we move on too, just look at the different legendary actors who have played Alfred over the years. I will always remember my first Alfred, played by Michael Gough, who portrayed him beautifully in the 1989 Batman. Look back at all these movies. The other three characters are a bunch of affirmative action, SJW-influenced girl heroes, which people have never heard of. So that makes it pretty ironic that this guy, Jerry Conway, is now pushing other female characters to be in other series more. Dude, don't you get it? Your all-girl run since The Punisher and Firestorm has failed. So stop trying to make other people fail with your SJW girl-pushing bullshit. If Matt Reeves and the Batman crew know what's good for them, they will stay far away from this Lady Alfred idea, unless they want their project to be irrelevant, just like how Jerry Conway is. Conway would then pitch his idea to Matt Reeves over touting the number of likes his tweet garnered. He then encouraged someone to start a petition. While Conway pitched Maggie Smith to play Alfred, others would pitch Judi Dench for the role. However, some eyed her for the role of a gender-swapped Commissioner Gordon. Jesus Christ. Is nothing sacred anymore, people? Come on. And how come the only way these idiots can think of to get female characters into these projects is to recast beloved male characters with girls? Come up with another strategy, people. Why don't you bring in already female characters like Catwoman? Or you could create new ones like some kind of new love interest for Bruce Wayne or something. I don't know, but anything is better than this whole let's lady reboot everything. Lady reboot Alfred. Lady reboot Commissioner Gordon. What's next? Should Bruce Wayne's father become a woman now too? Or something else stupid? I don't know, but any suggestion wouldn't of controversial opinions and
Oh boy, it's Apple WWDC Day. I wonder what exciting products Apple has announced and the pricing structure they've attached to them. Let's find out. Tim Cook came out and he said, oh boy, now do we have something extra special here to show to you. The new Mac Pro, 6K Retina display, high dynamic range, sophisticated stand. But stand? It can go up and down and around. You can tilt it to any angle you want. Cool. And attaches with magnet-assisted latches. Swap the display out for any one you choose. Huh, okay. I suppose that'll come in handy maybe once or twice. How many displays is it compatible with? 1. And I will charge $500 and I will charge $499 more just to be the man to charge $1,000 for a stick with a hinge on it. Whoa, wait. Did you just say $1,000?
I know, right?
We save you money. Now listen up, this isn't funny. We take an iMac and we take the Mac part out. We'll have no complaining about just how much you are saving, cause I got another deal right here to help you out. Better be good. Take out an halo, make this an Apple Card expense, and you can go into debt to save 3%. Just 3%? Jump on a payment plan, because the bank will understand. Or you bought one of those new Apple Mac Pro display stands. You know what, Tim? If you put it that way, I will spend $500 and I will spend $499 more to be the man who spent $1,000 on a stand made of soda cans. It's aluminium or aluminum, cost the rent of a condominium or a 1997 Chevrolet. Why buy an iPhone or computer? Time to see, I'm a pro user. And pro is another way to say that you have gotta pay. Then I woke up, realized it's not a dream. The nightmare price was 10 foot tall right on the screen. People spoke up, so Apple started censoring. Please leave your feedback on the official leader, Dick. disappointed at the EA level green. You're adding insult to what was a nice ice cream. Cause for $1,000, they got the same thing on eBay with a computer and a keyboard and a mouse and a big display. Or I could just buy 2 4K displays. So I won't spend $500 and I won't spend $4.99 more on a fancy thing you can't even see. Who cares if it's ugly behind the scenes? Rather buy a camera or a Camry, rent a pop star or a factory, fly to Bangkok, Japan, Fiji or Taiwan. Buy a gold bar, another used car, Dreamer iPad, Bob Streisand. I mean, she can't be charging all that much these days. Started off, we were so happy at the audience. The first.
Time now for another episode of How Is This a Thing? We've got lots to get through today. Star Trek The Next Generation's Marina Sirtis believes that Star Trek fans cannot be Republicans. Google censors a Project Veritas video that exposes the level of Pinterest's censorship policies. And we've got another cringy Batwoman trailer to watch, which is now seriously making me think that that show is actually a parody. All of that is coming up after this. Time now for a word from our sponsor for this video.
Mas é o Star Trek, uma merda por isso.
Time now for another episode of How Is This a Thing? We've got lots to get through today. Star Trek The Next Generation's Marina Sirtis believes that Star Trek fans cannot be Republicans. Google censors a Project Veritas video that exposes the level of Pinterest's censorship policies. And we've got another cringy Batwoman trailer to watch, which is now seriously making me think that that show is actually a parody. All of that is coming up after this. Time now for a word from our sponsor for this video, Raid Shadow Legends. This brand new collection RPG game has a rich and compelling storyline, 3D graphics that rival AAA console games, giant boss fights, and more than 400 champions for you to collect and modify. It's a wonderful throwback to classic RPG and following. Project Veritas has received and presented some rather interesting leaked documents from a Pinterest whistleblower that reveals some rather startling censorship policies at the social network. Tech Insider blows whistle on how Pinterest listed top pro-life site as porn, Bible verses censored. Project Veritas has received and published documents from an insider at Pinterest. The documents, which include product code, Slack messages, and internal policies, reveal terms and websites that Pinterest apparently censors. In an interview, the Pinterest insider who leaked the documents explains how the company censors pro-life and Christian content on the website. I was pretty surprised, said the Pinterest insider in an interview, when he discovered that pro-life group liveaction.org was added to a porn domain block list. The insider explained that the block list was intended to be a collection of pornographic websites that Pinterest uses in order to ensure that pornography cannot be posted. Liveaction.org is not a pornographic website. Instead, it is the web domain of a prominent pro-life advocacy group. The insider explained that websites on a domain block list cannot be linked in posts made by users. While investigating, Project Veritas tried to post the liveaction.org link on Pinterest and failed to do so, receiving an error message that read, "Sorry, your request could not be completed." Project Veritas reviewed the list of websites from the porn domain block list and was able to confirm that along with liveaction.org, websites like zerohedge.com, pjmedia.com, teaparty.org, and other various conservative websites, that's just ridiculous, were also listed. The majority of the document lists pornographic websites. I'm not sure why certain conservative news sites were listed among them, and why a pro-life site would be in there. Click on my links and you will instantly get 50,000 silver and a free epic champion as part of the new player program to start your quest. Good luck and let the combat commence. And we'll begin with the following. Project Veritas has received and presented some rather interesting leaked documents from a Pinterest whistleblower that reveals some rather startling censorship policies at the social network. Tech Insider blows whistle on how Pinterest listed top pro-life site as porn, Bible verses censored. Project Veritas has received and published documents from an insider at Pinterest. The documents, which include product code, Slack messages, and internal policies, reveal terms and websites that Pinterest apparently censors. In an interview, the Pinterest insider who leaked the documents explains how the company censors pro-life and Christian content on the website. "I was pretty surprised," said the Pinterest insider in an interview, when he discovered that pro-life group liveaction.org was added to a porn domain block list. The insider explained that the block list was intended to be a collection of pornographic websites that Pinterest uses in order to ensure that pornography cannot be posted. Liveaction.org is not a pornographic website. Instead, it is the web domain of a prominent pro-life advocacy group. The insider explained that websites on a domain block list cannot be linked in posts made by users. While investigating, Project Veritas tried to post the liveaction.org link on Pinterest and failed to do so, receiving an error message that read, "Sorry, your request could not be completed." Project Veritas reviewed the list of websites from the porn domain block list and was able to confirm that along with liveaction.org, websites like zerohedge.com, pjmedia.com, teaparty.org, and other various conservative websites, that's just ridiculous, were also listed. The majority of the document lists pornographic websites. I'm not sure why certain conservative news sites were listed among them, and why a pro-life site would be in there. I think this raises some questions about the company culture at Pinterest. Project Veritas also received a large text file titled Sensitive Terms List. The insider said the file contains search terms that Pinterest considers sensitive. Some of the actions that can be taken on search terms include blocking autocomplete results in the search bar, providing an advisory message when a term is searched for, removing the term from recommended or trending feeds, and blocking email or push notifications. Search results are also modified based on the values that are applied to terms. Project Veritas reviewed the sensitive terms list and discovered that Christianity-related terms like Christian Easter and Bible verses were marked as brand unsafe. The insider explained to Project Veritas in an interview that such terms are removed from autocomplete search results. I'll include a link to the full Project Veritas report in the description box below, but the story has taken an interesting turn because YouTube removed the Project Veritas video on this report. James O'Keefe took to Twitter to respond to this by saying, "YouTube has removed our Pinterest insider story. The battle is on. Support the insider who leaked the documents and got fired here," and they include a link to his GoFundMe. Well, the video has been removed, but I don't think YouTube is all that familiar with the Streisand effect. This is a really stupid idea. And it also just goes to show that certain people are not all that in favor of real investigative journalism, especially when it exposes leftist bias in social networks. The video is still available on the Project Veritas website. The whistleblower has now gone public. His name is Eric Cochran, and he's been fired from Pinterest. He spoke to Tucker Carlson on Fox News.
I did this because I saw wrongdoing, and the normalization of censorship within big tech companies right now is downright un-American. And I saw this as the fight for abortion. I saw a big tech company saying quietly, saying behind closed doors that they believe that live action shouldn't have a platform to speak. And the big thing is, I want them to have to say this explicitly. They need to say this publicly instead of behind closed doors.
Apparently, live action has now been removed from the domain block list on Pinterest, so I guess it must have been an oopsie.
Well, there is a kind of passive-aggressive, weaselly quality to all of these tech companies' responses. Every single time, oh, it was a mistake, or it was, classified in the wrong category. You worked at one of these companies. Confirm what we suspect. They're lying.
Yes, and this is big because this is one of the first stories that shows the definitive proof. A lot of times people might chalk things up to, oh, it's just a fluke, oh, I can't post a live action, but this is the definitive proof, and now they're in full cover-up mode as they're trying to protect their pro-abortion stances.
And as Cochrane says, more people in big tech social networks need to come forward and expose these biases that they're seeing. Project Veritas has done amazing work in the past in showing us what's going on in these big Silicon Valley social media companies, but we need more brave whistleblowers to follow Eric's example and tell their stories.
This is the watershed moment, Tucker. This is about abortion. You're seeing now with YouTube doing Pinterest bidding by removing the Project Veritas video, you're seeing that they're going to do whatever it takes. They are 100% in to protect the abortion lobby. And pro-lifers who exist within big tech companies, there's a lot of us, they need to come to Project Veritas and they need to expose what's going on. They need to make these tech companies, like I have, explicitly say that we are on the side of the abortion lobby.
Moving on, Marina Sirtis, who played Deanna Troi in Star Trek The Next Generation, has said the following to The Big Issue. It's an oxymoron. A Star Trek fan does not equal a Republican. Yeah, that's going to be a popular opinion. I'm sure it's not going to piss off like 50% of the fan base or anything. The Big Issue asks, are you happy to be back working in the UK? Marina Sirtis, I have to be honest, I miss it. Despite the fact the weather is so much better in LA, I'm really homesick and thinking seriously about coming back. Since the election, I just don't think I can live in the America Trump has created. I really don't. Oh yeah, America under Trump is just so oppressive. I mean, the economy is booming, but Orange Man bad, right? I mean, that's what the mainstream media and liberal Hollywood keeps telling us, so I guess it's true. You live in California. Is that not its own little bubble? We're the one state that is defying him, but I travel a lot, so I come out of the bubble. When I go to other places, my heart sinks. Why? Because they're not as left-leaning as California? By the way, California is a perfect example of the failure of the utopian policies of progressive socialism. California is one of the most expensive places to live in America, with huge social problems. The cost of living and house prices are extortionate. LA has the worst traffic congestion in the country, and if you travel up north to San Francisco, there's a serious amount of homelessness and, for some reason, an epidemic of human feces on the streets.
There's more feces on the sidewalks than I've ever seen, you know, growing up here. That was something that wasn't the norm.
Than you've ever seen.
Than I've ever seen, for sure.
We surveyed 153 blocks of downtown San Francisco. We spent 3 days walking up and down every street, inspecting more than 20 miles of the city. We found trash on every block, 303 piles of feces, and 100 needles.
Here's an article from USA Today from 2018 about a US News and World Report, and the article reads, California ranks last in quality of life in new report. So Marina, before you go criticizing other US states, how about you step out from the affluent suburb you live in California, because you live in a bubble within the bubble. You don't live among the average Californians who have to deal with the reality of California's social and economic problems. Well, at least those other places don't have the myriad of problems California has. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful place to visit, but it's being destroyed by the kinds of progressive socialist policies that Trump is firmly standing against. My heart sinks when I think about California today. My fellow cast members are always telling me off for being political in places where they wouldn't advise it, like Georgia. Marina, you can't say that. We're in Atlanta. And I'd be like, yeah, but this is where I have to say it. I have to say things in places where they possibly don't agree with me, in a way that makes them think about something. The next part is where it gets really good. Surely Star Trek fans are opposed to Trump's brand of politics. You feel like saying, did you watch the show? Because you are saying the exact opposite of what the show represents. It's an oxymoron. A Star Trek fan does not equal a Republican. The people who I hear from on social media, I don't get how they can be huge fans of the show and my character and think the way that they do. Oh my God, people disagree with you on certain things, Marina. How can they also like Star Trek? It's amazing, isn't it? The sanctimoniousness of these celebrities. Never before has there been this time where Hollywood celebs are so emboldened to make their unpopular politics public and lecture other people. In this case, their audience. Now, previously, it was considered a really bad idea to do that because You can alienate people very easily. After all, the public are the ones who are paying to see your movies or TV shows. Anyway, Star Trek fans are comprised of all kinds of people across the political spectrum. The franchise has always been a bit left-leaning, but plenty of conservatives watch Star Trek, and they've been giving good money for years, paying to see the films, buying the DVDs, the merchandise, and of course, paying to see the likes of Marina Sirtis at conventions. You don't sound all that grateful, Marina. So they ask her, do you think living in Brexit Britain would be any better? She says, you know what, as bad as it is in the US, it's not going to be as bad as Brexit. Trump is going to be gone in 2 years, hopefully. Sympathizing with Americans who voted for Trump or British people who voted for Brexit, rather than just demonizing them all as racist. Maybe then you can understand their position. Anyway, moving on. This is another Batwoman trailer. This is a brief... That's some kind of spoof? Nerdrotic thinks it feels like a spoof.
Top left of Africa, so the Atlantic coast of Morocco. It stretches through into the Straits of Gibraltar and then along that North African coast through all the kind of places which are in the news at the moment, Algiers, Tunis, and the city kingdom of Tripoli, which is modern-day Libya. That 2,000-mile stretch of North African coastline, that's the Barbary Coast. In the 17th century, that area is under the nominal control of the Ottoman Empire. That means it's part of the Dar al-Islam. It's part of the lands of Islam. And it was always thought by Christians and Muslims that this area was on the front line. This is where the sort of little wars were fought out between Christendom and Islam. And it's no coincidence, I don't think, that a lot of the guys I've been writing about in the 16th, 17th century, they referred to themselves as mujahideen. They were warriors for God. They talked about being on jihad. They were on sea jihad to push back the encroaching infidel. They were pushing back Christendom.
They're operating out of ports along this whole Barbary Coast and preying on what kind of shipping in the Mediterranean?
They're preying on any kind of Christian shipping they can find. So it's mainly merchant shipping, and most of it is engaged in the Levant trade. That is a hugely lucrative trade between Smyrna, between, in fact, Constantinople, Istanbul. Ironically, we're engaged in trade. The West is in trade with the Ottoman Empire. And a lot of English, French, Dutch, Spanish ships are moving along the Mediterranean to trade with the Greek islands, to trade with Aleppo in Syria, to trade, as I say, with Smyrna and Constantinople. And they're ripe for the picking. They're not treasure ships. They're not like the great Spanish treasure fleets. But then again, the pirates that I've been writing about aren't just after treasure. Sure, they want treasure when they can find it, but they'll take anything. They'll take the ship. They'll take the cargo, even if it's olive oil or currants or whatever, they can sell it. And very importantly, they'll take the crew. Piracy, and in fact the states of Algiers and Tunis and Tripoli depended on slavery. The economies of these states depended on capturing slaves and ransoming them or selling them on. Something like 1 million Europeans were sold into slavery on the Barbary Coast in the 17th century.
That's an appalling number. I mean, men, women, children, and sold as what? As domestic servants, as galley slaves? And
all of those things, Lewis. And also, importantly, if they were well connected, they're held for ransom. So they can be sort of taken on as cheap labour, but also they're encouraged to write home to London or Bristol in England and to say, look, help, mum and dad, brothers, sisters, send money. I'm trapped here and my owner has set a price on my head, and the only way I'm going to get free is if you send money.
What kind of ships were the Corsairs using, and what size fleets? I mean, is it a single galley or is it several ships? What's the armament?
It's an interesting story. It's an evolving one, Lewis, because in the 16th century, most piracy takes place in galleys, in big rowboats, with maybe a rowing crew of 144. There'd be a fighting crew of another 100 or so. These ships are very fast, they're very effective, but they can't really move out of the Mediterranean. They rely on shock and awe to overcome their prey. So they will sail straight up to their victim. They will often ram their victim, and then they will just charge aboard. There's no, the kind of Errol Flynn notion of galleons sailing by firing broadsides at each other. don't work when you've got 144 oars, 72 oars on each side of the ship. You can't do broadsides. These ships are really effective, but they've got a very limited range, because if you're carrying 200, 300, 400 people, you can only go for about 10 days before you've got to hit land and take on supplies and water. Now, that's the norm in the 16th century. In fact, exactly in 1604, the new English king, James I, makes peace with Spain. And because of that, large numbers of English privateers, that is quasi-legal pirates who've been preying on the Spanish, are suddenly told you've got to stop robbing Spanish ships because the Spanish aren't the enemy anymore. And thousands of Englishmen move into the Mediterranean. They want to carry on being privateers come pirates, and they go for sanctuary. They turn Turk in the phrase. They go for sanctuary to Morocco, to Algiers, to Tunis, and indeed to Tripoli. The significance of all this, for your question, is that they bring with them Northern European navigational techniques. So within 20 years, the pirates of Barbary moved from galleys to the big round ships, the big sailing ships of the West.
Зимовала в лесе, зимовала. Что ж ты там робила, что ж ты там робила? Город городила, город городила. Красавчики садила, красавчики садила. Весна, где бывала весна, где бывала. Где бывала весна, где бывала.
Да.